I played several JRPGs in 2024, and it was a stacked year for gaming for me. However, today we're going to talk about what I have planned to knock off of my backlog in 2025. 2024 was such an amazing year for JRPGs, and I went through a whole stack of them and knocked quite a few off of my backlog. However, it's a new year, and a new year means new games. Every year, I pick 10 or so games from my backlog that I want to complete. Now, keep in mind, this isn't an exhaustive list of games I want to play in 2025, as there are tons of games announced already this year, and several games that have yet to be announced. Before we start talking about my 2025 backlog goals, I want to hear what games you're hoping to play this year or knock off of your backlog. Let me know in the comments below, and with that being said, it's time to get into today's video and talk about 10 JRPGs I plan to knock off of my backlog in 2025. Let's start this list off with a game that is basically a crime that I haven't played at this point. Xenogears, released in 1998 for the PlayStation. Yes, I'm aware of how terrible it is that I haven't played through what is often considered one of the best JRPGs of all time. You know what makes it worse? I've attempted to play through it several times and just dropped it for one reason or another. Be it a game that I was more interested in playing, or just getting bored for one reason or another. However, lately, I've heard so many positive things about Xenogears that I'm willing to give it another shot. I personally really adored all three Xenosaga games, and I got into the Xenoblade games, and while they aren't my favorite games of all time, I did enjoy them. I think it's finally time to see the origin and where this beautiful series began. I won't lie, I kinda feel bad for not playing through this game because honestly, I enjoyed what I played. I love the battle system, I love the story, and it has mechs. The more I think about it, the more I wonder why I haven't played through it yet. Well, I guess no time like the present to play it, Albert Odyssey, Legend of Eldian, released for the Sega Saturn in 1996. So, in 2024, I finally got a Sega Saturn, the one console I always wanted to get as a kid. One of the main reasons I really wanted one was because of working designs. If you've taken a gander around my channel, you will have heard me talk about this localization company on numerous occasions. Granted, most of my experiences with this company is from PlayStation 1 days with games like Lunar and Vanguard Bandits, but now that I have a Sega Saturn, I can experience games like Shining Wisdom, Dragon Force, and Albert Odyssey. If you recall, back in 2024, I actually started streaming Albert Odyssey on the YouTube channel here. However, that only lasted for about 2 or 3 streams. I am fully intending on going back to these streams in 2025. Who knows, maybe I'll end up turning 2025 into the year of working designs and Sega, because I know for a fact that there are several games on the Sega Saturn that I want to finally experience that I never had the chance to play. Back at the beginning of 2022, I was determined to play through all 4 mainline Phantasy Star games. However, after the first 2 games in the series, I got a bit burnt out and never went back to Phantasy Star 3 and 4. I want to change that this year though. I keep hearing such good things about Phantasy Star 4. With Phantasy Star 3, I hear it's passable or even skippable, but personally, I have this quirk where if I'm going to get into a series, I want to play the entirety of the series, even if a few games within that series are downright terrible. That's what I'm hearing about Phantasy Star 3, but I'm sure I can tough my way through it, even if it is an awful experience that I'm going to regret. After all, I managed to play through Tales of the Tempest last year. If I can do that, I'm sure I can make it through anything. Though, with that being said, I hear that Phantasy Star 4 is up there as one of the best JRPGs on the Sega Genesis, and of that entire generation, so that in itself is reason enough to continue this series. I'm really looking forward to finally getting through these games that people speak so highly of. So, Metaphor ReFantazio. I know, I should have played this already. It won an RPG of the Year last year, but when it came out, I was playing Ys 10 Nordics, and we all know how much I adore the Ys series. I didn't have the time to sit down and play Metaphor last year, but after seeing how positive everyone talks about it, and seeing almost universally positive acclaim for it, I feel like I owe it to myself to play this game. I won't lie though, I get intimidated when I hear that JRPGs are over 100 hours long, mostly because I have the tendency to take longer than most people when I play JRPGs. I like my exploration, and I like talking to every NPC, so naturally, they take me a little bit longer. I started this game in November, and honestly, I loved what I played of it. I felt like I was playing a fantasy Persona game with a job system, which you'd think I would have gotten more addicted to because, well, job systems, they're my weakness. I will be sure to finish Metaphor in 2025 because I want to know what all the hype is about. Besides, the game just oozes style, and I love when a JRPG has an amazing aesthetic. Oh look, it's another Working Designs game. Shining Wisdom is part of the Shining Force series, or maybe it's a spin-off. I'm not 100% sure, but did you know I've never played a Shining Force game before? Other than about 10 hours of Shining Force Neo on the PlayStation 2. And yes, I am well aware that that is a very sketchy game as far as the series goes. Anyways, Shining Wisdom is an action RPG that kind of reminds me of Zelda, but on the Sega Saturn. Yet another game that has never been freed from the dungeon that is the Sega Saturn. Seriously, it's a crime of how many JRPGs on that console never saw the light of day elsewhere. Heck, I could make a whole list about that. But that's a video for another day. I've played a very small amount of Shining Wisdom, and honestly, I thought it was really unique and really fun. I don't have much of an idea of the history of Shining Wisdom, but hey, sometimes going into a game fully blind can make it more enjoyable. All I know is to expect a crazy translation in true Working Designs fashion. Okay, seriously. At this point, this might as well just be a Working Designs list. This is the third game from them on this list alone. Oh well, they do good work. Alundra is another Zelda-esque game, but with a huge emphasis on puzzles. Not just puzzles, but really difficult and frustrating puzzles. These are the things that I miss in JRPGs. I love the idea of puzzles, but I am also aware that they can be annoying to some people who struggle with them. Alundra is another game that I have tried to play on numerous occasions, but didn't really get very far into. Every time I play it, I get lost in a dungeon or stuck on a puzzle and just stop playing for whatever reason. It's such a shame because the music and gameplay is a lot of fun. In 2025, I am determined to finally play through Alundra. Funny thing, I've actually played through the sequel, Alundra 2, and that game is about 100 times worse than this. Seriously, it's terrible. Don't touch that game with a 100-foot pole. Also, if I manage to play through Alundra this year, expect a review. I've wanted to cover this game since I started my channel. Another game I've heard a ton about is Brave Fencer Musashi. You would think that I would have played this game growing up, but no, unfortunately, I missed out on it. Brave Fencer Musashi is an action RPG for the PlayStation, and it's all about food apparently, or at least has food puns all over the place. And that's everything I know about the game. Well, that and the fact that the game has an absolutely adorable and gorgeous art style. I do have the sequel of the game as well for the PlayStation 2, Musashi Samurai Legend, but I've heard that game isn't all that great in comparison to the original. As you can see, a lot of these games I don't know very much about, but that's why I want to play them in 2025. There are far too many classics I missed out on growing up. Brave Fencer Musashi is one of those games, and enough is enough. It's time to bravely fence stuff, as Musashi. Yeah, don't ask. I have no idea what I just said, but it sounded good. Alright, I've mentioned this before, but I adore when a JRPG has voice acting that is so terrible, you question the director's state of mind. Rise Fantasia has some of the most comical voice acting known to man, only outshined by Chaos Wars, but that game cannot be beaten when it comes to bad voice acting. Rise Fantasia is a turn-based RPG that kinda gives turn-based Tales vibes, with maybe a bit of Skies of Arcadia. When I said the voice acting was terrible, I was not joking. Honestly, the thing about bad voice acting is it adds pure comedy to every single voice cutscene. It can turn a game from a boring slog, or from something that seems too serious to just non-stop laughter. If you don't believe me, just watch this clip. I present to you some of the worst English voice acting known to humankind.
Ah! Help me! I don't want to die! Help me, Mr. Lark!
See, it's awful, but more awfully beautiful. Sure, I could download a Japanese dub for the game, but where's the fun in that? I can't wait to get through this game. It's gonna be an absolute nightmare that I just can't wait to live through. Have you ever played those games that you're really enjoying, but then for no explainable reason you just drop them and forget to go back to them? For me, those are the Golden Sun games. They have amazing music, great gameplay, and just a great and fun adventure. But for some reason, I got relatively far into the first game and then just stopped it for no reason whatsoever. No game distracting me, no life getting in the way, I just dropped it for the sake of dropping it. I can't explain it, it's just a weird thing I do every now and then. In 2025, I'm going to do my best to play through all of Golden Sun and Golden Sun The Lost Age. I've heard so many good things about this duology, so I feel I owe it to myself to play through them. Granted, I heard Dark Dawn, the Golden Sun game on the DS, just enraged the whole Golden Sun community because it ends on a cliffhanger that never got resolved. Can't be that bad, right? Oh well, once I play the first 2 Golden Sun games, maybe I'll give it a shot. This one surprised me as well. I love the Wild Arms series with a screaming passion. After all, Wild Arms 2 is the game that kicked off my never-ending love for JRPGs. I've talked about various Wild Arms games before, but never before have I played the PSP strategy RPG Wild Arms XF. Strategy RPGs, much like visual novels, are a game that I really have to be in the right mood for. Usually, whenever I get into this mood, I just replay Final Fantasy Tactics, but I feel like I should play Wild Arms XF next time that hankering for a strategy RPG comes around and rears its gorgeous head. Though, I hear that Wild Arms XF can be incredibly difficult at times. It has a class system, so I'm sure it's one that I won't be able to put down. Also interesting is that instead of squares like most strategy RPGs, it uses the hexagon system from Wild Arms 4 and 5 as a grid. It might be a nice way to mix up the way a strategy RPG plays out. I'm looking forward to trying out the latest and possibly last release in this long-going cowboy JRPG series. So there you have it, 10 JRPGs that I want to play through in 2025. I am mostly aiming to go with retro titles I missed out on, but there are a few games that came out somewhat recently on the list. Now, I want you to tell me, what games are you intending on knocking off of your backlog in 2025? Or maybe you have a suggestion for what you feel I should play. Be sure to let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more of my super awesome JRPG videos. Oh, what's that, YouTube? Interesting. YouTube seems to think that you'll enjoy this next video. Be sure to check it out and let me know what you think. This has been Shinky, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, have a wonderful day.